Is there any question for Liz? No, I would like to ask you, sorry.
I just wondered, is it working? Yeah. I just wondered what you talked about print versus online and suggested that actually, you know, what's the difference? You should really be reading online. We've moved a textbook online, so we now use an entirely online textbook, which I'll talk about a bit later on. But students want the print version, so we're in negotiations with a publisher to provide a print version. And the thing about this particular textbook is that it is continuous reading. It's long, continuous narrative reading. And what students say to us is that it would be fine if it was shorter, snippets and things. And I just wonder whether you felt that there was any qualitative difference between the types of material that work online in terms of reading material and some kinds of reading that we might want students to do regardless.
Yes, thank you. If I had been able to, I would really have liked to have shown you something that we're working on at the moment called Open Create, which is a platform for collaborative production of online resources. And in that process, we're experimenting with allowing the learner to manipulate the text at the same time, so that they can reformat the text, they can highlight the text, they can annotate the text, they can put their own commentaries in, and they can construct, it's a little bit risky, but they can construct their own version of the text, which is more appropriate to the way that they're understanding. So I think that, for me, is potentially an amazing development, and one that unfortunately we're only beta testing it late in the spring next year. In terms of what students, it's a difficult one because when I hear our students say I don't want to study online, my immediate reaction is why are you enrolled with a distance teaching university? But I can see some of the difficulties, because people are trying to transfer their own experience of how you learn and how you consume learning into that environment. And we haven't yet provided the tools to make it easy for them to do that. So there are annotating tools that are available, but they're not very easy to use, and people haven't figured them out yet. And I don't like using them myself, so I can understand that. But I think then we need another step change in the development of the text. So smaller chunks of learning, yes, but much more interactivity with the text than is possible with the blank page. I was talking to somebody earlier about, you know, you put a laptop in front of a kid nowadays and they'll try and swipe the page across because they think it's like an iPad, and I find myself doing that as well. So we've got to really think about the way in which people consume the technology much more when we're designing the kind of tools for learning that we want to give to them.
Thank you. Any other question? No, I would like to ask you, sorry, Annika. No, please, you go ahead.
I was just so you mentioned that you are a very old institution, open online institution, of course, one probably the leading one online university worldwide. I was wondering, so of course there is a big difference. There's a lot what has happened over the years, and whether you would say that the shift from old-fashioned distance teaching, let's call it that way, to the 21st century's possibilities, was it a smooth transition happening at the Open University? Was there a moment where you said, okay, we have to completely change everything, how we have been designing, because there's new possibilities? Was it a smooth transition, so step by step? I just wanted to understand a little bit more how you have been working, because it seems you are embracing everything what is out there, the possibilities, but how has this happened?
Okay, so no, it's not a smooth transition, and not a smooth journey at all. What I was saying earlier about context is really important here. So the developments don't occur in a vacuum, and particularly in a policy vacuum. So what has hit the university over and over and over again has been changes in government policy, changes in funding mechanisms, changes in the way in which students are supported through fees or loans or whatever. And so all of that is the context that you have to operate within. We also have the additional complexity of operating over 4 UK nations with devolved governments, so that adds more complexity. So the journey is not a smooth one. I think it's that we do have many people who are working on developing and incubating new ideas and trying to innovate and put those into practice. But sometimes you have to wait until the time is right to do that, or the students are ready to do it. So one of the things that I found, and I'm amongst friends, so I hope I can say this, is that some of our associate lecturers, some of those who have the closest interaction with students, didn't themselves like some of the things that we were doing, so discouraged their students from participating in them. So you've got a lot of people to try and take with you. So you have to take the tutors and the academic community and the learners with you. So it can never be a smooth journey.
Thank you. Any other question? No? Then I will ask. Okay. I have a couple of questions, but I think that I will keep one of them for the end of the session. This way I will also have the opinion of the others. But there is one, I mean, you said you had 22,000 students with disabilities, that you have some people in prisons, people in submarines. 70% of students are full-time employers. So the question is, because I worked in a distance teaching university for 7 years, and I know that there is a debate on that. Is the online university, not your university, the online university, in your opinion, fighting for the same piece of the cake than the other universities? Because I do not see 22,000 students with disabilities in the traditional university or in one traditional university. I do not see 70% of full-time employments in other universities. So I would like to know your opinion in order to define the target that future projects online should go to.
Yeah, can I answer that in the UK context? So I think that this is very much about the policy impact and about the way in which funding for higher education has changed in the UK. And so some people are able to access higher education in a traditional face-to-face environment, others aren't. So that people who are in employment but who are looking to reskill or upskill or develop their career path further, their options are limited. Their options are very limited. Attending a face-to-face university where part-time is taught as infill rather than as a discrete offering, where the online provision is blended. It actually restricts the potential for some people to participate. So in a way, that the markets are different, if we want to use the word markets. The markets are different. But having said that, one of the really interesting things that happened in 2012 in England was the introduction of fees and loans for part-time students, but they were contingent on the student registering for a qualification. So that changed the ball game completely, because people could no longer register for just a module and study that and kind of create a qualification themselves. They had to register in a particular way and commit to a loan and to debt. And that has influenced the way in which people have approached and consumed higher education. And so in order to react to that, the Open University actually started to reconfigure itself as a traditional university with a focus on qualifications rather than modules. I think and that kind of brought us into much greater competition with the rest of the sector. But we now, I think now we've recognised that we have to retreat from that, and that we've really got to focus on people in the workplace, work-based learning, alternative approaches and opportunities for study that aren't yet offered. There is a big competitor in the UK market called Arden University, who are very quickly coming into the same space. But I don't think that the Open University is yet in direct competition with other universities in the sector. Does that answer your question, Pat? Yeah, yeah.